Families with Children from China is a group of adopted parents with Chinese children. Every year, its Greater New York chapter organizes a special event called Chinese Culture Day to bring families together. The event features many cultural performances and workshops and attracts thousands of participants every year. Together, families watch Chinese folk dance, sample Chinese food, and learn about Chinese art and culture. On a giant Chinese map, adoptees wrote their names on small cards and placed them on the provinces that they came from. Each heart represents a little girl. Many of them are from small villages in the eastern provinces and were adopted when they were infants. Many parents believe that helping their children to reconnect to their Chinese heritage is important in boosting their self-esteem and shaping their identities. They encourage their children to learn the language and the culture, and very often they will visit China together when the children are older.
Laura and I came back to China this time so that Laura could see where she grew up, to affirm some childhood memories and dispel others. She left as a little girl, and she remembered China as a little girl, and she needed to see that China had grown up and is a whole culture and not just a language and some dances that she might see at some cultural presentations. I know she's liked walking around in a crowd that looks like her, and me being the one who doesn't look like everyone else.
June and I were learning Chinese, together, and
Chinese school.
And
I don't like Chinese school, Daddy.
I know.
Why not?
Because I don't. It's boring.
But do you like to learn the language?
I do, but it's so boring. In first grade, you learn too much, and then in the preschools, you sing too much, and I want a little bit of both.
I think I'm trying to be more thoughtful and think about sort of ways to, work Chinese things into her life just so she can learn about it. Like, for example, for the new year, I had her bring the book, The Dancing Dragon, to class, and her teacher read it to the class, and they liked that, and I printed out pictures from the internet of kids with the dragon, and her class all colored the pictures, and they put them on the bulletin board and did sort of a Chinese New Year bulletin board. So I thought that was kind of nice, and I think she felt really special about that.
When parents are extremely enthusiastic about Chinese dance and Chinese cultural activities, that can be positive, but it can also, you have to be careful about any activity and making it seem as punishment, making it become a punishment as opposed to something that they enjoy and get pleasure out of. So I hear parents telling me, well, my daughter really wants to play soccer instead, but I'm insisting she go to language classes. Well, it's really great to help a child become bilingual, but it's also important that they don't see that it's a punishment for their being different from their parents.
Raising a child of a different race can be a difficult task. While the parents are raising their children in a country that is still dealing with its growing ethnic diversity, racism remains a major concern.
I do worry about other children. Children can be pretty cruel, and I worry about her being in a minority, that the other children may bring that to her attention. Right now she has such terrific self-esteem at 6. And I just think she's very proud to be Chinese, and she feels very strong about China. And I'm hoping that as children get to certain developmental stages and they're so concerned with being like everybody else around them, it's so important to them, I'm really concerned that she will feel that she stands out, and I worry about that.
I think initially we didn't really worry about it when she was a baby. It just didn't seem like it wasn't an issue to us, so we didn't think it would be an issue at all.
People, right.
But in the last few months, I've had a number of situations, particularly in taxis, where taxi drivers have asked right in front of Francesca, you know, is she your daughter? She's Chinese, and you know, acting like
she can be your daughter.
Yeah, comments like that, and as if she can't understand what they're saying, or she doesn't understand English. I don't know what they're thinking or not thinking, but it's very difficult to respond to these people and not get angry, and at the same time, I'm concerned. My daughter's bewildered. She's concerned. Later, she asked me if I'm, you know, am I your daughter? And it's very hurtful, and I feel for her, and I just, you know, I think that aspect is getting a little more difficult, and just responding to questions and people who just feel that they can, you know, ask you very personal things.
Barge into your life and say, oh, is she adopted? As if she were a little dog that you picked up at a pound.
So that's gotten to be more of an issue, I guess, making me a little more aware of that aspect of our situation now, which I didn't focus on as much when she was younger.
A lot of the issues that transracial adoptees have are similar to all adoptees in terms of the issues of loss, the issues of abandonment, grieving. These are things that are been identified very frequently in the literature. In adolescence, these things come into play much more in terms of thinking about identity, finding out who you are, what you stand for, what you mean, and what you hope to do with yourself.
It's the loss of the birth parents that's the big issue. Some people have described that as the wound that never heals. That will be my biggest concern, that if I can't make that wound heal, that at least I can give her some other way to feel like a whole person, to acknowledge that that wound is there, not to pretend that I can step into the role of her birth parents. I can't.
I think role models and just experiences with positive models from their own racial group can be very supportive of good self-esteem, of more of feelings of affiliation with a particular racial group. I have this question asked to me quite frequently: how much Chinese language or how much Chinese dance is enough for these children? One of my big messages, I would say, is that transracial adoptees, they're going to form some unique identity that encompasses a little of both racial and cultural groups, as well as this unique aspect that's a part of their adopted self.
I don't think it really is an adoption versus, you know, biological child. I think, you know, a child changes your life. They become the priority in the center, and they have strong needs, and they're very demanding. And
at the same time, they're also generating so much emotional gratification that you don't need to go to the mat every other week.
I mean, I never feel like I'm deprived in any way. In fact, if anything, I think, you know, our life has gotten fuller, and
we have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, and I think we've met a lot of people through Francesca and her activities, and through families with children from China, and just in general.
So every day there is something that needs to be addressed in that way.
And I don't think we've only,
that's why we went the second way.
We've never laughed so much in our lives. So, yeah, she's very entertaining.
Okay, blow, 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 blow.